Members, we will now go to the sponsors, starting with SAPS and then SABC in that order. But I just want to ask members, if you've got follow-ups, please leave it for the second round. Otherwise, we're going to break the flow. I want to deal with, because there's very important questions to all the role players, that we first deal with that comprehensively. And if members are not, satisfied or have additional input, let's do it in the second round. Let's start then with the South African Police Service. Minister, National Commissioner.
Thanks so much, Chairperson. Let me just, since lunch, I've received 3 telephone calls from the members of community at Butterworth about the station commander, Mtengwana. They say they've never seen such an efficient and a good station commander. Having said that, it's we have a code of conduct and ethics as the South African police members. Commissioner and I and the management, we have agreed that on our walls we'll have to put section 253 to remind what is our duty of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. 253 reads such: the objects of the police service are to prevent, combat, and investigate crime, to maintain public order, to protect and secure the inhabitants of the Republic and their property, and to uphold and enforce the law. So we are putting that as a reminder, what is our core function as the police of the Republic of South Africa. So we'll immediately admit that we have that role to play. This role is defined on the supreme law of the land, with the hope that all other role players will find their space, what is their contribution towards the safety of the inhabitants of the Republic of South Africa. Chairperson, I issued a statement. I've been asked time and again why that statement when I said cash heist is terrorism. Because last weekend, a principal of a school in Tembisa, Chris Machebula, was buried, who was shot and killed in the execution of cash heist in Tembisa, driving on his car, and had nothing to do with that cash heist. Not only him, another young man was shot there. Fortunately, did not die. He was with the brother. They could have been both killed as the brothers. We went with the management to see that family, and we realized that it's getting out of hand when ordinary, complete innocent people who had nothing to do with it are killed. That pushes us more to say we'll have to really deal with this sketch. And then the invitation is that all of us will need to put a maximum effort to deal with it. There are questions, I'm sure others will respond to that. One major question was asked by Honorable Member Hunevalt, I can't see him. What is our scientific history of our successes? I'm sure several people here, there are people that were there when these successes were done. One of them is Johan Poison, who was there when those things were won. Masimula was there, himself were there. Most of this team were there. That's scientific because it did not come from heaven. Some people really worked for it to happen. Just a few things. One, these cash heists at this moment are the culmination of the fear factor to the people of the Republic of South Africa. There are other feeder crimes on it, Honorable Chairperson. The car hijack and car theft is a feeder crime to cash heist. These explosives, a new one, is a feeder crime. The illegal firearms is a feeder crime. The corrupt personnel in different areas, South African police members, there are some of us who are really corrupt. But in the whole chain, that's the hard luck of the South African police. People, they deal with them and they forget the whole chain that is corrupt. Diverting a little bit, we are fighting the crime where a criminal was awarded 34 million by a person from the office of the state attorney, having not discussed with the police on the matter that we're taking to court. The guy is a criminal, we know he has been awarded. So, there's a chain of corruption. Unfortunately, police are at the hardcore and everybody look at them. But I'm not saying we're not. One of Moderne yesterday, where we have arrested 3 last night in Limpopo. We arrested one of ours. Is a lady who provided an escape car. That's last night. And is romantically involved with the kingpin of the cash heist. So these are the things that internally, but it looks like in all other groups that are arrested, we have a member of the private security company. So the one guy I'm sure was on these things, social media, was playing with the money and all that. We found him in the house with 1.5 million cash. So it is one area where all of us will have to fight to clean our own as a chain. The bail issue is a big issue and it's not the police issue. I looked around, Chairperson, I couldn't see the NPA colleagues. Didn't see the NPA colleagues. I think they would be relevant to be part of this meeting, the NPA colleagues. Because you can't tell me how many times a cash heist known person received through 3, 4, 5 bails. You really can't tell me. But I don't know if correctional services are here. Last month, we had 16 of people that escaped from Sun City. Organized way, they had a coup and all that. Among them, 7 of them are for murders. So now the police must go back and chase them. After we've arrested 16 of them, we're still chasing them thereafter. So I appreciate this, but because you started all of us, if you could pursue it with a chain and discuss it as a cluster sometime, it will really help us, because as the South African police, we have many things to raise with our own cluster. Yes.
Just on that point, we've invited the Justice Committee, but they're busy today with the public protective matter, so they're not available. But we will definitely, following this meeting, of course, involve the whole cluster itself. You're welcome.
Thanks. The second one, having mentioned the fear factors leading to the cash heist, the car theft, the hijack, and highly organized, even those. The other fear factor is a house robbery. House robbery also works on getting the legal firearms and convert them to illegal firearms so that they can be there. But it's both corruption and theft of our own firearms. If you see R05, I think Honorable Margaret did raise the matter. If you see R05, that's a South African police firearm. If you see R4, that is an SANDF firearm. The question, how do they land? How do they land in the hands of the criminals? In 2 ways. One is our own corrupt members who sometimes hire them out sometimes themselves steal and send them out. But sometimes they are raided, police stations are raided like your Ngobo, where they are raided and they go with them, which means we must come back and work on our systems ourselves. So that will concede without really hesitation going forward. What are we doing now? Chairperson, we had this spike that has made most of us here not to sleep. People can talk and say whatever they say. These officers have been pushed, have been really pushed, big time. Hence, he had to go to shop and buy cars like bread. He had to go and buy cars like bread. He bought 104 cars, high performing like bread, because we needed them, we wanted them. I'm sure most of you have seen them on TV, are really high performing cars. To put them, throw them on the road, link them for the quick response on the route. We're not most of them are going to be unmarked, and put them on the highway. Put them on the highway, link them all, so that they respond simultaneously, put the high-performing individuals inside those cars, so that as they come on the scene, we know we win that scene. It doesn't matter where and doesn't matter when. That's one thing that we have done. We all know what happened to our crime intelligence. I'm sure people will give a little bit of time to Jacobs to turn this thing around. We all know what happened to the Hawks. At one time, Hawks took the case of 12 Rand. They investigated, and later they explained that the case was for cupcake. So that's the Hawks you have been having of late, investigating the cases of cupcakes. And so you'll ask the question, when do they do their work? I hope this doctor, Lieutenant General, advocate, will deal with those matters and make Hawks. We believe he will do that. If it doesn't, he will be pushed that, look, you are not an owl, you are a hawk. So act like a hawk. Well, I don't know the battles of the birds. But if I don't have an eagle and I have a hawk, I'm fine. So we hope we'll go back to that. It has taken some time. I must admit, there's been a lot of destruction of crime intelligence and the Hawks. Even with the detectives, there's been a lot of space, acting people and all that. We hope General Musikiti, they didn't see you, the members, when you were General Musikiti, who is responsible divisional commissioner for detectives, coming from the environment of the FCS, will expand the understanding dealing with those matters. I want to say we have put all the teams, and the teams must be running. Only one place where we have not put a permanent person is KZN provincial commissioner. But all teams are there now. And we expect those teams to move and make this organization much better. They will answer specific questions. You were not here when I say scientifically what happened. I hope you would not ask that question from us. I will bring people to come here and answer your question for you. Let me be overall. There was a complete disentangled, whatever is the name, after 2011, 2012. Complete. That poison was one of envy of policing in South Africa. Dismantled. Disintegrated. The team that was working with. But we established a team in Gauteng called a tracking team, highly trained. Their job was one, is to get the criminals we want in that particular day. That was their job. That's taken back to stations and disintegrated. The special teams we created called technical response units. At one time, they took their cars, high-performing cars like GTI, like Vito, and giving it to the station commander. What station commander is going to do with the GTI? What is he going to do with the GTI? So, give them the. So don't ask this question from me. So that's what has happened. We're pulling together. The problem now, we're fixing the flying Boeing. We can't stop this Boeing because somebody there realizes that there's a space. But closing that, Chairperson, I want to sit or stand here. We are going to turn things around, and these South Africans are going to be safe. We have started. We're not going to let the momentum go back. If I'm not mistaken, for last two, since the Boksburg, when these guys really in Zulbat Basjwaela, taking us for granted, they were moving not just, it was no more a heist a day. It was between 1 and 3 a day. So we have reversed that for last 5, 6, 7 days. We have reversed it. I think since we started with the arrest from that, we have put about 25 of them in. We have put number 3 on the top 20 and number 2. We're chasing number 1, the real coordinators, the real doers of the thing. And these police are working hard. There was a question of the flying squad and all that. We have unleashed everybody on the street, honorable members. Your special task force, your NIU, your TROT, everybody has been unleashed on the street. That's why for last 3 operations, we hit them before they hit us, which means even the intelligence is beginning to get there, because we have been always responding and reactionary. We're moving ahead now. We're moving ahead. The Mpumalanga one was beautifully done. The KZN, not KZN, Volksstrasse, when these guys, they hit us in Mpumalanga, and they were moving to KZN. We intercepted them, 6 of them. That's about 3 or 4 days back. Yeah, so we are. We're quite comfortable that if we keep it where we are and improve now, South Africans will be fine. Thanks.
Thank you, Minister. Let's go to the other questions. Thank you, General Sitole.
Yeah, thanks very much, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members. I will also then take part of the strategic questions, and the operatives are going to deal with the operational questions. The first question, Chair, is the question that was put forward by the Chair, how are we going to sustain the momentum? I think firstly, it starts with the lesson that we have learned, is that policing takes place at grassroots level, and crime is also taking place there. And that's where we need maximum resources for policing. The first thing that we've done running concurrently with the stabilization is the migration of resources down to grassroots level so that we beef up the process. At the end of the stabilization, the normalization must sustain the momentum, but talking to the strategic deployment of resources. So that process is running concurrently, but we're also running it together with the unions. Then we've also, at partnership level and also at operational level, we started the design of the cash movement strategy, because I think there's been various questions, others that were relating to siloship, And from the discussions here, I think there's willingness amongst all the parties to share one common vision and to fight the same common enemy. But we didn't have a strategic intervention that put us together. So that strategy is actually completed. That's why some of the colleagues from the partnership, they've started with certain implementation process like the Fusion Center concept. So this strategy is the one that will sustain the momentum. Currently, we're on the quick win action planning execution. Then we're moving towards the medium term as well as the long terms, that is solutions. And part of the long-term solutions also include technology, which we must sustain here. And one of the consideration I've issued a directive within the turnaround for a work study review on the establishment of relevant specialized units as demanded by the current situation. So there's a number of them as per the work study unfolding that will come from the fore to the fore. And some of the task teams that we also have established, we will be looking at them from a work study point of view, whether they should not graduate into specialized unit because of the demand. Then Chair, the national approach. The stabilization, the appointed officer, who's the lead officer, is Lieutenant General Masemula, the Deputy National Commissioner for Policing. But I've also assembled, it's both Lieutenant General Masemula, Lieutenant General Tsumane for crime detection. There's also Lieutenant General Libya from the Hawks. All of them, they constitute a steering committee for the stabilization. So they are overseeing it, they are monitoring it, they make sure that whatever has been decided gets executed. They're also monitoring the normalization plan so that it unfolds. By the end of the stabilization, then it continues and it takes over. I'm sure the question of specialized units is addressed by the work study review. We're not going to re-establish all specialized units. We're going to re-establish specialized units that are demanded by the current situation. And that will respond to the current situation. But also, we're monitoring the modus operandi developments. As the modus operandi develop, we're also going to consider relevant responses, which will include, that is the specialized units. Then there was the question of money utilized in South Africa, or is it across the borders? All we would like to indicate to the committee is that this money is involved in laundering. And we are addressing money laundering as part and parcel of the unconventional policing approach. So there's covert operations that are running there. So I would not disclose further, but what I also want to bring to the fore, I have informed the committee previously that one of the new strategies that we brought to the fore is the illicit economic combating strategy. There's quite a lot of link of these monies to your illicit economy. And that particular response, it's gonna be talking to exactly where is this money going. But I wanted to bring forth another angle. I think 2 weeks ago, we attended the SAPCO, that is the regional police chiefs. And within SAPCO, I think I've been requested to lead the development of a regional, continental, and Interpol framework because there was a gray area. At the present moment, I'm providing guidance towards that. One of the areas that came to the fore, there's actually planned or targeted attacks to the grand economic strategies of the different countries. But the modus operandi affects almost all the countries, including South Africa. And the criminal value chain and syndicates is almost common. So the strategy that we're gonna be coming up with is a strategy that will talk to a collective regional response towards this. The sharing of those particular criminals so that we all fight them and we stop them. So This process of the illicit economic that is combating strategy is also going to link to the regional framework of fighting these particular crimes. Then the explosive that goes together with the involvement of mining. I think, Chair, from the SAPS perspective, we're planning an engagement with mining. And our first belief is that there's a legislation that governs the explosives. And one of the root causes from our root cause analysis is based on the enforcement of that particular legislation, which is one. But also within SAPS, we've got explosive units who are also conducting inspections with regard to explosives. As the minister was actually indicating that there was a missing role player here, this is also my other missing role player here, because if explosives are taken from the mines, we cannot be part of the mine security to guard the explosives or part of their security measures. So we just want to engage them and also bring to their attention the damage that any lack of control of the explosive is causing outside there, and how those explosives are utilized in crime. But we have a belief that we'll have a common understanding and a working together. So we intend to escalate that also to a partnership. There was a question or a comment on the plan being theoretical. I think it was deliberately done, Chair, because we didn't want to disclose operational information. My view is, if the committee needs, for any reason, a little bit of deeper information, we'll ask for a closed session so that we don't share our strategies with the criminals in the media. Then the rapid response pertaining to aerial response, I think it is there. In one of the heists which they intercepted and foiled, I think one of our helicopters was shot at by the criminals. And but anyway, it was part and parcel of a response, but later on those particular suspects were arrested. So our helicopters are deployed throughout the country. In addition to aerial support by SAPS, we have engaged with security companies, we've engaged with all other stakeholders in the national activation plan. So there's other aerial support that is available, but we're also still working on an activation database so that we have all of them. Where possible, we also get aerial support from defense, where they just support us to beef up this particular plan. So there's almost, at the present moment, above 70% aerial support to rapid response. The flying squad, I wanted to start by saying the figures are not necessarily correct as they were put forth, but what is correct is that there's been a decline in the flying squad force levels. And the important is to share what we're doing. The migration of resources down to local policing framework, the flying squad is top of the agenda. The minister has related to the vehicles. I think the maximum of those vehicles, more than 60%, they've been deployed with flying squad. And the deployment of those vehicles is also talking to an increased deployment of personnel with flying squad, which when we pull off the stabilization and the migration is fully executed, flying squad would be back to the level of resourcing as it is expected. The detective task teams, whether are they dedicated task teams, is part and parcel of the stabilization operational direction. They are dedicated task teams. But the General Zumane and Libya, they're also monitoring and overseeing. They actually go to an extent, they will be on the ground to deal with these matters. The spiking of the elections, I'm sure, of the heists, I'm sure the minister will comment about it. It's not operational, it's slightly political, yes. So the stabilization versus the involvement of unions, we just wanted to be a little bit clear about it. The stabilization is an operational plan. And therefore, at operational level, we do not involve unions. We involve unions at the SABC processes, which is pure labor structures. We had a comment when we issued a directive that everyone get out of the offices, that maybe certain unions were not consulted. We do not consult unions on operational plans because it's pure operational. And we deploy anyone and everyone everywhere because it's operational. So, but if we move the personnel or the workforce from the one place to the other, either on a semi-permanent or permanent basis, then it becomes a labor issue. But for now, we have no intention to involve them in the operation, in this operation. Then Operation Gijima Tsotsi, firstly the stabilization, it's across all the provinces, one operational instruction. Operational Fiela, all 9 provinces, one operation, one direction. But the modus operandi of the 9 provinces is not the same. There's other different modus operandi which you will not find in Gauteng, Mpumalanga, or maybe Limpopo or any other province. Therefore, that requires a province-specific operational initiative. Now, Operation Gijima Tsotsi is a province-specific operation that is run by Mpumalanga, and it responds to the modus operandi, which is based in the province, not necessarily modus operandi. You will also find other similar or different initiatives in other provinces that you will not find in the other province because it's not a national initiative. So I think Mpumalanga is right to have it. Then, Honorable Chair, the Minister has addressed the R4s and R5s. It's the siloship and coordination and the proposal for a central MOU. I want to start by saying we welcome the input. It talks to our cash movement strategy initiative. And we are already agreeing with all the other stakeholders. We're going to convene a cash movement strategy session with all of them at this time so that we define our role. We also distinguish between current, which is short, medium, and long-term initiatives. And one of the other initiatives that we want to do there is complementing the OCC and escalate it to the Fusion Center. Because at OCC level, you deal with operational issues, but you won't necessarily deal with policy issues. Like, for instance, regulating the security industry, the regulations that the minister can pronounce. I think that we can deal with at the Fusion Center, including some of the other areas which has been touched by even the Reserve Bank. The requirement to join the heist, I'm sure it's a modus operandi based criteria. Yes, and what I want to bring forward here, which is most important to deal with, is the runnership profile. What the criminals are doing, they invest in the runnership profile, and they use various feeders. Then they create a springboard for criminals to graduate from the one level to the other. Now, for them being an armed robber, it's just another criteria which is based on the springboard. But there's various other criteria which they use. But your root cause is your runnership profile. And the runnership profile in the country, seem to be growing day by day. But when we deal with the normalization, we've got various interventions that we propose here, from community policing, from youth crime prevention, quite a lot of them, so that we disrupt this particular profile. Then the optimal utilization of informers, it's a national instruction, but the operatives, they will talk to it. Then the 70% involvement of police in the CITs. Yeah, we will not confirm the 70%. It's a little bit too high, Minister. I agree. And when it gets too high, it may become...
I will give the clip to the commissioner. That's not what I said what I read.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. We're not disputing it. We're saying it's too high, but what is important is how do we respond to it. The minister has just indicated the female constable is involved with a kingpin. My instruction was cut and dry this morning. I said summary dismissal. A day before, she's no longer in the organization. That's just my principal approach. So if anyone is involved in crime, is no longer with us. We take our uniform away, the orange uniform is available. Yes, so now, while we may have it at 70%, but we're working it down every day. And it's running, it's part and parcel of the stabilization, because we're also cleaning the organization on the one hand. I'm sure by the time we finish stabilization, the organization must also be between 80% and 95% clean, so that we continue with the clean organization. And I'm sure SCI is rising a bit, is also helping us. We're on their toes. And one time the committee asked us about the lifestyle audit is also going on, especially this particular time. Corruption across the sectors. We have been very clear. There's several meetings. The latest one, it was actually convened by the minister, where we said with the security industry, but we also dealt with this with SABC. We said, let us be clear on vetting, we want it structured. Then the lifestyle audit, but also the profiling of ex-employees, because when we look at most of the heists, is either is an ex-bank employee, is an ex-security, is an ex-SAPS member. We're just saying, but this profiling will help us to be proactive so that we deal with it. The intended execution in KZN, I think, Chair, we would like to appreciate the proactive intelligence. And we have already assigned our intelligence to follow on it. We're not necessarily confirming or denying it, but I think as information comes out, we just need to make optimal utilization of it. Then I think the question of delivering cash at night, it's not necessarily a very relevant question to the police, but we can say it's a matter that we're dealing with together with the security industry. And we are then looking at ways and means that are feasible and that will protect the reputation of the country. And Chair, I think I would like to close with an indication just to say, I think in the turnaround vision, we're dealing with the economic and social stability, which is what links us to a better life for all, the country's vision. But I wanted us all to look at this as an attack to the grand economic strategy of the country, which requires protection. And if we don't protect it, it would lead to social instability. But further to that, the current sketch is also disrupting investment and business in the country. So when we also look at the National Development Plan, it might be prolonging our journey towards the realization of Vision 2030. And from Rand BS, the precondition for freedom is security. And therefore, we calling all parties that we strengthen security so that there's freedom in this country and the freedom of the people. And we will continue from the side of SAPS to make sure that the safe and secure environment is created. With your permission, Chair, I will allow the other colleagues, our colleagues, to respond to some of the questions. General.
Thank you, National Commissioner. General Libya.
Honorable Chair, honorable members, honorable Minister, I'm going to respond to 4 questions. The first one, all suspects who are arrested for cash in transit are out on bail the following day. That was the question joined with a statement. What I would like to indicate is that I have already given a direction to the members of the Hawks that the first thing that you do is to oppose bail. So that one is a first step. And we know these crimes that we are talking about are Schedule 5 and Schedule 6 of the Criminal Procedure Act. It is not supposed to be easy for an individual to get bail. But obviously, we argue for the non-granting of bail, which does not guarantee that we will in all matters succeed. But as a point of departure is that the instruction is that all suspects who have been arrested for CIT, we shall oppose bail. The second one is the existent or otherwise of the specialized units to deal with these cash in transit cases. I know that the National Commissioner has already indicated how the process is being dealt with. All what I need to add is that some of the units that have been re-established did not come exactly with the old names that we knew of, but the mandate is there, such as you have got the National Bureau for Illegal Firearms and Priority Violent Crimes. So this is part of the new names that one may not always be able to link that this is originally firearm investigation unit, which has joined with a serious and violent crime. One of those is you had in the past what you call SANAP, and now you may be hearing of SANEP. So the name may not have come exactly as we knew it, but there are areas, obviously, where we shall have to revitalize. And in some spaces where the damage have gone deeper, we shall have to re-engineer. But we understand the challenge and the speediness in which this shall have to be dealt with. The next question has to do with the withdrawal of cases, why it appears that more cases are being withdrawn than the conviction. This is, again, another area where we are putting brakes on those. We have already started questioning the members. When we hear about the withdrawal, we even engage the prosecuting authority to understand where the withdrawal should have happened in court as to what are the reasons for this. So we put the brakes. There are other cases where even after doing that, the explanation why the withdrawal still take place can be appreciated. So those we would like to put a brake and minimize them. The last question that I want to touch on is there are vehicles that have been found which belongs to relatives and friends. On this aspect, I think that indeed it even goes further, that some of this that you'll find are actually rented vehicles. Not a day yesterday, they were arresting a suspect involved in the Rhino Horn. It's not using his own vehicle, it's using a rented vehicle because of they understand the consequences. All what I can say is that whenever there is a vehicle found, whether it belongs to a friend or a relative, one of the things that is being done is the investigation of that particular item as an instrumentality in the commission of that offense. So we look at it with the possibility that it needed to be forfeited. So those are some of the things, and obviously the owners will have to come and prove why that particular item cannot be forfeited to the state. There may be reasons. So those are the 4 questions that I needed to respond on. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, General Labia. General, you can go ahead.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think partially covered by what the General Labia, National Commissioner, said. Safe to say, on the question of the originality of the explosive, though I am not going to divulge that much, but our modus operandi indicates that